The hotel lobby fell silent. Not because someone had fallen. Not because there was an emergency. But because a woman standing near the elevators had just recognized the man holding another woman's hand. And that man was her husband. Emily froze. The suitcase slipped from her fingers and crashed onto the marble floor. Her husband, Daniel, looked up. For one horrifying second, their eyes locked. His face turned white. The blonde woman beside him looked confused. Then Daniel did something Emily would never forget. He let go of the other woman's hand. Not out of guilt. Not out of shame. But because he was afraid. Afraid that everything he had been hiding was about to explode. Emily. His voice cracked. What are you doing here? Emily stared at him. Then at the woman. Then back at him. What am I doing here? Her voice shook. This is our family vacation. The blonde woman slowly turned toward Daniel. Her face drained of color. Family vacation? The words echoed through the lobby. Daniel looked trapped. Like a man standing on railroad tracks watching a train rush toward him. Because the truth was finally here. And there was no escape. What happened next would destroy a marriage. 3 months later. It would destroy his entire life. Before we go any further, let us know in the comments where you are watching from. We would love to hear from you. And do not forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Now let's go back. Because what Emily discovered that day wasn't just an affair. It was something far worse. 3 days earlier. Emily had been excited. For the first time in nearly 2 years, her family was finally taking a vacation together. Daniel had been working non-stop. Late meetings. Business trips. Endless excuses. But this trip was supposed to fix everything. Or at least that was what Emily believed. She had spent weeks planning it. The flights. The hotel. The activities for their 2 children. Every detail. She wanted her family back. What she didn't know was that Daniel had made different plans. The morning of the trip, Daniel claimed he needed to leave early for an important client meeting. Just meet me at the resort tonight. He kissed her forehead. Smiled. And walked out the door. Emily believed him. Because after 14 years of marriage, she still trusted him. The mistake would cost her everything. Or so Daniel thought. Hours later, Emily boarded the flight with their children. But halfway through the journey, disaster struck. Their connecting flight was cancelled due to severe weather. The airline offered alternative arrangements. Emily and the kids would arrive 1 day later than expected. Frustrated, she called Daniel. No answer. She texted. Nothing. Again. Nothing. Strange. But she assumed he was busy. What she didn't know was that Daniel wasn't in a meeting. He wasn't working. And he certainly wasn't alone. At that exact moment, he was drinking champagne beside another woman. A woman named Vanessa. The woman he had secretly been seeing for almost a year. And Vanessa believed she was the only woman in Daniel's life. Because Daniel had lied to both of them. The next morning, Emily finally arrived at the luxury resort. The children ran ahead excitedly. Emily smiled. She couldn't wait to surprise her husband. She imagined his reaction. His apology for missing her calls. Maybe even a romantic dinner. Instead, she walked into a nightmare. Because standing in the hotel lobby, holding another woman's hand, was Daniel. And the look on his face told her everything. The children stopped walking. Dad? The innocent voice shattered the silence. Daniel looked like he might collapse. Vanessa stared at the children. Then at Emily. Then at Daniel. And suddenly, the entire story he had told her began to crumble. Who are they? Vanessa asked. Daniel couldn't answer. Emily stepped forward. Her voice was calm. Too calm. They're his children. Vanessa blinked. What? Emily looked directly at her. And I'm his wife. The silence that followed felt endless. Then Vanessa slowly turned toward Daniel. You told me you were divorced. Daniel opened his mouth. Nothing came out. You told me your marriage ended years ago. Still nothing. The color drained from Vanessa's face. And for the first time, Emily realized she wasn't the only victim. Daniel had betrayed them both. But the worst part was yet to come. Because Vanessa wasn't just his mistress. She was connected to something Daniel desperately needed. Something that controlled his future. Something that could destroy him. And Emily was about to find out exactly what it was. The question was, would she walk away? Or would she make him pay for everything? Emily didn't answer immediately. She simply stood there. Watching. Listening. Thinking. 14 years. 14 years of loyalty. 14 years of sacrifice. 14 years of believing she had married a man who would never betray her. And now he stood in front of her looking like a complete stranger. The children moved closer to her. Confused. Afraid. Emily placed a protective arm around them. Daniel finally found his voice. Emily, please. Let's talk about this privately. Emily laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was unbelievable. Privately? Her eyes filled with tears. You brought your mistress on our family vacation and now you want privacy? People throughout the lobby had stopped pretending not to watch. Daniel looked around nervously. His reputation mattered to him. His image mattered to him. His ego mattered to him. And Emily suddenly realized something. He wasn't sorry. He was embarrassed. There was a difference. A very big difference. Vanessa stepped backward. You have a wife? Daniel swallowed hard. Vanessa. You have children? Listen. You lied to me. Her voice cracked. Months of trust shattered in seconds. Then she said something that made Daniel's face lose all color. My father is going to hear about this. Emily noticed the panic immediately. It wasn't normal panic. It was terror. Pure terror. And that was when she knew. There was something about Vanessa that Daniel hadn't told her. Something important. Something dangerous. But what was it? The answer would change everything. That evening, Emily sat alone on the hotel balcony. The children were asleep. The ocean waves crashed below. But nothing could quiet the storm inside her mind. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. She opened the door. Vanessa stood there. Her eyes were red from crying. I need to talk to you. Emily hesitated. Then stepped aside. A few minutes later, the two women sat across from each other. Neither knew exactly where to begin. Finally Vanessa spoke. I didn't know. Emily nodded. I believe you. Vanessa looked surprised. Most wives wouldn't. Emily sighed. Most mistresses know. The two women sat in silence. Then Vanessa revealed the truth. My father owns the company Daniel works for. Emily froze. Suddenly everything made sense. Daniel wasn't just having an affair. He was having an affair with the boss's daughter. Vanessa continued. He told me he was divorced. Emily stared at her. How serious was your relationship? Vanessa laughed bitterly. Serious enough that he was asking about becoming a partner in the company. Emily felt sick. Daniel hadn't just betrayed his family. He had used another woman to climb higher. And now that entire plan was collapsing. But Emily still didn't know the worst part. Vanessa looked down. then whispered something shocking. He asked me to marry him. The room went silent. Emily couldn't breathe. What? He proposed last month. For several seconds neither woman spoke. The betrayal felt almost unreal. A second life. A second future. A second family. Daniel had been planning everything. And Emily had never seen it coming. But now, everything was about to come crashing down. The next morning Daniel woke up to 12 missed calls. All from Vanessa. His hands shook. He called back. No answer. Then another notification appeared. An email. Subject line. Meeting requested. Immediately. From the CEO. Vanessa's father. Daniel's stomach dropped. He already knew. Somehow he already knew. 2 days later Daniel walked into the executive boardroom. The atmosphere felt icy. No smiles. No greetings. No friendly conversations. Just silence. At the far end of the table sat Richard Thompson, one of the most powerful business leaders in the state. And Vanessa's father. Richard slowly folded his hands. Have a seat. Daniel sat down. His pulse pounded in his ears. Richard stared at him for several seconds. Then spoke. Did you think I wouldn't find out? Daniel opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Richard continued. You lied to my daughter. Silence. You lied to your wife. Silence. You lied to this company. The room felt smaller. Daniel could barely breathe. Then came the sentence that changed everything. As of today, your employment is terminated. Daniel's world collapsed. Years of work. Gone. Years of ambition. Gone. Years of networking. Gone. One conversation. One truth. One mistake. And it was all over. But his nightmare had only begun. Because losing his job was the easy part. Losing everything else would be much worse. Over the next few weeks the cracks spread everywhere. Emily filed for divorce. Friends stopped calling. Business contacts disappeared. People who once praised him suddenly avoided him. The story spread faster than he imagined. Everyone knew. Everyone talked. Everyone judged. The man who had spent years protecting his image watched it disintegrate in front of him. And still, he blamed everyone except himself. One evening he showed up at Emily's house. Desperate. Angry. Broken. Emily opened the door but didn't invite him inside. What do you want? Daniel looked exhausted. I lost everything. Emily stared at him. The irony was almost unbearable. He lost everything? No. She had lost everything first. The trust. The marriage. The future she thought she had. Daniel stepped forward. Can't we fix this? Emily laughed softly. The question sounded absurd. You were planning a future with another woman. It wasn't serious. Emily's eyes hardened. You proposed to her. Daniel fell silent. Caught. Again. You didn't make one mistake, Daniel. Her voice trembled. You made thousands of choices. Every word hit harder than a scream. You chose to lie. You chose to cheat. You chose to betray us. Tears filled his eyes. But Emily felt something unexpected. Nothing. No anger. No hatred. No desire for revenge. Just peace. Because she finally understood something. The worst punishment wasn't something she could do to him. It was something he had already done to himself. And for the first time in months, she felt free. But life still had one final twist waiting. 3 months later. Emily stood inside a small office overlooking downtown Chicago. Sunlight filled the room. Across from her sat a business investor. A woman she had met through Vanessa. After the divorce, Vanessa had reached out again. Not out of guilt. Out of respect. The two women had formed an unlikely friendship. And together they had started discussing a business idea Emily had dreamed about for years. Something Daniel had always dismissed. Something he claimed would never succeed. Today the investor smiled. "We're moving forward." Emily's eyes widened. "Really?" The woman nodded. "The funding is approved." Emily covered her mouth. Tears filled her eyes. Not tears of pain. Tears of victory. Because while Daniel was losing everything, she was building something new. Something better. A future nobody could take away. And for the first time in a very long time, she believed in herself again. 6 months later, Emily attended the grand opening of her company. Friends. Family. Supporters. Everyone she loved was there. Her children stood proudly beside her. Smiling. Laughing. Happy again. As Emily prepared to cut the ribbon, she noticed someone standing across the street. Daniel. Alone. Watching. He looked older. Tired. Defeated. Their eyes met. For a brief moment. No words were exchanged. None were needed. Because both of them understood the truth. Daniel had spent years chasing more. More money. More attention. More excitement. More validation. And in the process, he lost the people who truly loved him. Emily had lost a marriage. But she found herself. And that made all the difference. As the crowd cheered around her, she smiled. Not because Daniel had suffered, but because she had survived. And sometimes, that is the greatest revenge of all. The greatest revenge is not destroying the person who hurt you. It is building a life so beautiful that their betrayal no longer defines your story. And as Emily stood surrounded by the people who loved her most, she finally realized something. The chapter Daniel destroyed was never the end of her story. It was the beginning of a better one.